Welcome to the Economy Magazine. I'm Binyamin. Tjong-Alvares with the top economic reports coming up on today's show. Why Lithuania became the EU's 19th member. And Dilma Rousseff faces an uphill struggle as she starts her second term. First, the headlines. Oil slid further in Asian trade on Monday on concerns that the glut in global oil supply will extend well into this year. On the New York Mercantile Exchange, light sweet crude futures for delivery in February dropped to $51.31 a barrel. Brent crude for February delivery on London's ICE Futures Exchange fell more than $1 to below $55 a barrel. Both oil benchmarks have been down for 6 consecutive weeks and on Monday extended losses to trade at their lowest in more than 5.5 years. The euro fell to a 9-year low against the dollar on Monday as investors expect more stimulus from the European Central Bank. The euro sank as low as 1.18 against the US dollar in early trading on Monday, its lowest level since March 2006. Analysts say ECB President Mario Draghi is under pressure to pursue quantitative easing in an effort to curb deflation. Like the US, Draghi may purchase government bonds, which would push down yields and ultimately make the euro less attractive to investors. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani said on Sunday foreign investors should no longer be viewed as a threat, saying Iran's decades-long isolation from the world economy could soon end. Rouhani said the Islamic Republic would not give up its principles, but it would be better placed to conclusively emerge from recession if it opened up. The comments are based around the hope that successful negotiations over Iran's nuclear program could result in an investment boom. In hopes of ending Iran's isolation, Rouhani also threatened to use its constitutional rights to hold a referendum, putting a nuclear agreement to a public vote.
The time is past when it used to be said that if a foreign investor comes to Iran, our independence will be in danger.
The South Korean Unification Ministry on Monday backed sanctions the U.S. had posed against North Korea last week. U.S. President Barack Obama on Friday issued an executive order authorizing expanded sanctions against North Korea in the wake of the hacking of Sony Pictures Entertainment. The U.S. government named 3 entities, including North Korea's military intelligence agency, and sanctioned 10 people with links to weapons sales and proliferation. Pyongyang denied involvement in the cyber attack, calling the sanctions hostile and repressive policies by Washington.
As the foreign ministry already defined our government's stance in a statement, we see the sanctions as an appropriate action.
The Eurozone is in a terrible state following years of anemic growth and menacing deflation, where lower prices have pushed up the value of debt. Still, Lithuania, a fast-growing, low-debt Baltic state of 3 million people, on January 1st, happily became the 19th member of the club. Joanna Citruk and Daniel Roth tell us why in the following report.
There are now some 337 million Europeans using the same currency. On January 1st, Lithuania became the 19th country to join the Eurozone, a move that has seen widespread approval, with 3/4 of the population viewing it positively.
I think positive aspects of it would be that for Lithuanian businessmen, way easier to export. No converting currencies, less taxes. Also, banks will get smaller percents from them. And in general, Lithuania will look more attractive to foreign investors, as they will see the real situation here, without converting currencies to litas. And in my opinion, it would be a great guarantee to Lithuania's economy that it is strong and for foreign investments.
For Lithuania, though, this is not their first attempt, having tried to enter the Eurozone in 2006. But Brussels refused, apparently due to high inflation. Instead of devaluing currency, the government opted for austerity, and some touted this as successful, showing growth replace recession. Unemployment numbers shrank, public debt hit around 40% of GDP, and inflation was at almost zero. But this was just the surface. Labor costs declined as worker protections were stripped. Immigration was rising, and EU stats suggest that 30% of the population is still at risk of entering poverty or social exclusion. Indeed, inequality is growing in Lithuania, and with this changeover, some fear a new price spike.
Well, we Lithuanians are a bit afraid that we will wake up with high prices.
The currency changeover is seen as a means for Lithuania to strengthen its ties with the West and to build a dam between itself and the hurting Russian economy.
And we're joined now by Aryeh Chertoff from stock analyst ranking company Tipranks for a discussion of what lies ahead in the markets this week. Mr. Chertoff, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So what are we looking at this week?
So we're going to look at three companies: Micron Technologies, Bed Bath & Beyond, and Family Dollar.
Okay.
So all three are reporting earnings this week.
Right.
We'll start with Micron Technologies. They're set to report on Tuesday, and they're expecting an increase in earnings of $0.92 per share, up from last year's $0.77. But let's go back a little further. The last 2 years have been pretty incredible. 2 years ago, their shares were trading for roughly $7 a share.
Wow.
And at their last close, they were about 35. So that's a 400% increase in 2 years.
Yeah.
So most of that can be attributed to a Japanese company called Elpida Memory that they acquired last year. In 2013.
Right.
What's interesting, though, is in addition to all that good news, most of the analysts we've seen on Tipranks still expect a lot of upside for Micron Technology. So
based on what?
Based on market conditions and their position.
Which are favorable, right?
Right, and they just have a very strong assortment of products that should do well in the.
What about Bed Bath & Beyond? What's the story there?
Okay, so they're also reporting earnings this week on Thursday. They've had a bit of a rough year due to the struggling house economy, but overall they've still have been doing pretty well.
Right.
They had very impressive same store sales over the past few years, and they're hoping to still continue expanding. They have modeled growth of about 20 stores per year. So we'll see how that plays out. Analysts have mostly been on the sidelines recommending a hold. So we'll see. I mean, that's
just taking into consideration the U.S. market. I mean,
right. I mean, obviously, when people aren't buying homes, then Bed Bath & Beyond also suffers.
Right.
So if the housing market picks up, then they'll probably do well as well.
Okay. And Family Dollar.
So Family Dollar, they're also reporting earnings on Thursday. They're actually expecting slightly lower earnings than last year, but the big news here is that they're soon to vote on whether or not to be acquired by their competitor Dollar Tree.
Okay.
For $8.5 billion. The interesting thing is that they've actually gotten an offer from another competitor, Dollar General, which offered $9.1 billion, but they rejected that due to antitrust concerns. Dollar General actually still have an offer on the table for $80 per share of all their outstanding shares. But in the meantime, we're waiting for January 22nd this month to see what
we'll see what that brings. Aryeh Chertoff from Tipranks, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. As Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff took the oath of office in Brasilia for her second term last week, she faces both a huge corruption scandal and mounting pressure to restore economic credibility. Here's the story.
Dilma Rousseff has put up many fights in her long political journey. Jailed and tortured under the military dictatorship, she became Brazil's first female president in 2010. Re-elected in a tight race 4 years later, the trained economist with a penchant for hit television series Game of Thrones needs a powerful strategy to vanquish her own country's demons.
O tema mais amplamente invocado.
Reform was the most widely raised theme during the campaign. I'm aware that I've been returned as the head of state to bring about big changes, as called for by Brazilian society.
Grandes mudanças que a sociedade brasileira exige.
Thousands took to the streets to protest the Football World Cup costs and poor public services in 2013. The former Marxist rebel named a pro-market finance minister to pull the world number 7 economy back into the green, after growth that peaked at almost 8% plunged to zero.
A presidenta Dilma precisa sinalizar.
The newly elected Dilma must show that the past's mistakes won't be repeated, that the economy will grow again, that the corruption scandals will be put down, and that quality public services will be a government priority in the next 4 years.
Uma agenda decisiva para os próximos 4 anos do Brasil.
Her ruling Workers' Party's policies pulled 40 million people out of extreme poverty, but saw its popularity wane after money disappeared from public companies. This she has also vowed to overcome.
Terei compromisso rigoroso também com combate à corrupção.
I will rigorously fight against corruption. I will strengthen oversight institutions and suggest law reforms to end impunity, which shields against corruption.
Que é a protetora da corrupção.
The most immediate challenge, getting to the bottom of $4 billion missing from state oil company Petrobras. Money that investigators say was filtered to corrupt politicians, including from the president's own party. So far, 39 people have been charged, but dealing with this case and rooting out other graft may be Rousseff's biggest battle yet.
Israel is one of the world's best places for biopharmaceutical research, ranking among the top for new patents filed in biopharma each year, new companies founded in biopharma, and biopharma companies publicly traded over the past 5 years. Here to discuss more is Daniel Teper, the founder and CEO of Immune Pharmaceuticals, a company that develops antibody therapeutics to improve the lives of patients with inflammatory diseases and cancer. Mr. Teper, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So what does it take to build a successful biotech company, and can the success of the Israeli high-tech that we've seen be replicated in biotech?
First, you need excellent science that addresses major medical needs. Second, you need management, but really management that has been there and done it before, which is a bit different from high-tech. And you need access to significant capital, which has not always been available in Israel until now.
Okay, and can it be replicated then?
Yes, it can. I think leveraging both Israel and the United States is a way to replicate the success of high-tech. You know, often it's believed that it takes 10 years to succeed, or more, to succeed in biotech. Actually, if you understand the catalyst evaluation, it can take as little as 2 to 3 years to see major valuation for companies.
Taking your personal example of Immune Pharmaceuticals, I mean, what are your milestones for 2015?
So we have several milestones. First of all, we have revenue milestones. We have a number of products that we're looking to commercialize. And when I say commercialize, is out-license to company that will actually finish the development and sell them. So one of those products, Amicat, addresses the market of neuropathic pain. That's a $3.5 billion market. It's already been in over 1,500 patients. And we expect to find a partner and therefore have revenues, early in 2015. The other major milestone that we have is results from clinical trials, some of which are conducted in Israel with our lead drug, a monoclonal antibody called bertoluimab, in a rare disease called bullous pemphigoid. It's an autoimmune disease of the skin.
Right. As you said yourself, I mean, exact science we have. We have the professionalism, we have the know-how, but I mean, how long does it take to get a return on investment in biotech versus high-tech?
Well, Immune strategy was to not only acquire Israeli technology, but also to acquire products in advanced developments that were developed abroad. And that's what makes the time to significant valuation much shorter than if we started from the bench and try to build a company over the next 10 to 15 years.
Okay, and so the funds really mainly come from where?
Well, the funds initially came from private investors, both in Israel and abroad. But really what made the difference is when we became a public company in the United States, and in August of last year, Immune became a NASDAQ-listed company under the ticker IMNP.
Okay.
And that makes a big difference because you can have access to significant capital pretty much on demand. So, for example, in November, we raised overnight over $10 million. And in 2015, we'll have the opportunity to raise more capital based on achieving milestones with our own products, but also if we have an opportunity to acquire another company or another product, then we can go to the market, and that's much easier.
Okay, well, Immune obviously is a very good company. There are a lot of little startups in Israel. Would you say that people sell out too easily in Israel?
Yes. I mean, first of all, Israel has too many little companies, and I think it's Dr. Frost, the former chairman of Teva, when he listed OPCO in Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, said that Israel needs 20 companies like Teva, but not 20 companies that are general pharmaceutical companies, but 20 companies that are based on innovation in biotechnology.
Okay. Well, Mr. Daniel Teper, CEO of Immune Pharmaceuticals, thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Well, that's the end of our Economy Magazine for today. I'm Binyamin Tjong-Alvares. Thanks for watching. Send us your comments, give us your feedback, and join us again tomorrow for more in the economy.